Hi, I'm Samantha. After my knee surgery, my family promised they'd take care of me. Meals, meds, support, everything. But while I lay alone in pain, unable to even reach my own pills, they boarded a first-class flight to Paris, using my credit card. They smiled in selfies, sipped champagne, and tagged each other with Suhern family first, all while I survived on crackers and silence. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing it wasn't an accident, it was planned. So how do you fight back when your family makes you the villain for simply standing up? Want to hear what happened next? I woke up to a stillness that didn't feel like morning quiet. It felt like absence, the kind that lingers too long. My body was heavy, aching from the surgery, my left leg wrapped tight in a brace that stretched nearly to my hip. I shifted carefully, wincing as I tried to sit up on the couch, my makeshift recovery bed for the next 2 weeks. The apartment was dim. I hadn't opened the blinds. The pill bottle sat on the kitchen counter, too far to reach. No water within arm's length. My phone blinked beside me, its battery slowly dying. I blinked at the clock on the wall. Just past 800 a.m., they had promised. Mom said she'd come by before breakfast. Callista swore she'd take the early shifts since she worked remote. Even my brother said he'd handle meds and meals on the weekends. We had all sat at the hospital intake office, them nodding along as the nurse detailed post-op care responsibilities. They'd even signed the damn care form. I kept it, folded neatly in a drawer. Not because I needed proof. I thought it was sweet, thought it mattered. I pressed Callista's name on my screen. Straight to voicemail. I waited 30 seconds, then tried Mom. Nothing. Finally, I tapped out a quick message in the family group chat. Hey, anyone coming by this morning? I stared at the screen. No typing bubbles, no reply. I lay back and closed my eyes, trying not to feel what I was already starting to know. Maybe they're just stuck in traffic, I said aloud to no one. Or busy, it's early. But I knew Callista's morning routine, her 6:30 matcha, her 7:00 Instagram scroll. If she wasn't already filming some filtered sunrise story, she was texting someone about it. And it wasn't me. I stayed still for another 30 minutes before forcing myself up, dragging my brace-heavy leg to the edge of the couch. The effort left me sweating. I managed to lean forward far enough to snag a half-eaten granola bar from the coffee table. 3 bites. Stale. But it was something. A few nights ago, still groggy from anesthesia, Callista had kissed my forehead and said, "You'll be treated like a queen." Her voice had that curated softness she used in her videos. I believed her, even knowing she performed everything, even comfort. Mom had smiled and said she'd make a calendar, said she'd rally the troops. They laughed, promised, posed for a selfie at the foot of my hospital bed. Now it was noon. My phone hadn't buzzed once. No one had stopped by. No text. No knock. No noise. I pulled the signed care agreement from the drawer and laid it on my lap. I stared at the inked names, Callista's loopy C, Mom's precise cursive, and my brother's half-legible scrawl. The signatures looked warm back then. Today, they looked like forgery. I took a photo of the paper with my phone. No idea why. Maybe instinct. Maybe insurance. I opened the group chat again, still unread. The silence wasn't a fluke anymore. It was fact. By 2 p.m., I'd nibbled through 3 saltine crackers and drank tepid water from the night before. I thought about crawling to the fridge, but I already knew what was in there. Mustard, expired yogurt, and some wilting spinach. No one had stocked it. They assumed I would. Like always. I laid back against the cushion and stared at the ceiling fan. It wasn't on. Neither was anything else. A quote flashed in my head, uninvited but sharp. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I didn't want to believe them. I didn't want to accept that I could be this easily forgotten. But I also wasn't new to this. Just new to seeing it so clearly. As daylight slipped away and shadows stretched across the walls, I wrapped myself in a blanket and adjusted my brace. The room had cooled. My body ached more from stillness than pain. I whispered into the quiet. They promised. They signed. No one answered. I looked at the phone one last time, its black screen reflecting my own tired face. Then, softly, a click. The screen lit up. A transaction alert slid across the top. The notification rolled across the top of my phone screen like it didn't just shatter something fundamental. I didn't even need to open the app. The preview was enough. $12,984.60 charged to your Platinum card. Air France, 1st class, 2 adults, 1 infant. My thumb hovered over the screen. I blinked, once, slowly, as if squinting hard enough might make the number go away. But there it was, and it was my card. I sat there, still on the couch, wrapped in the same blanket, knee aching under the brace, and just stared. The room hadn't changed. The lights were still off. But suddenly, everything around me felt different. Colder. Sharper. Who uses someone's credit card while they're recovering from surgery? Who plans a luxury vacation on their sister's dime without even a heads up? I opened the banking app. My heart was beating faster now. Not panicked, but furious. Click, load, confirm. There it was. Not just the flight, but a full lineup of 5-star bookings. Airport lounge access, limousine service, hotel reservations with breakfast included, even a childcare surcharge. Paris. They weren't just on vacation, they were on tour. I scrolled fast, tapping open each charge like opening wounds. The totals kept stacking, every transaction more ridiculous than the last. I knew that booking pattern. It was Callista. Her fingerprints were all over this. Her taste for boutique experiences, her obsession with rooftop views, her tone-deaf captions about gratitude while guzzling rosé at noon. I clicked over to Instagram without thinking. Right there, top of my feed, was a video. She was in Paris. Of course she was. Laughing into the camera, swiping a piece of brioche through a pool of chocolate. Behind her, my mom was clinking a mimosa against her boyfriend's glass. And my brother, in his ridiculous leather jacket, was flashing peace signs like a teenager on spring break. The caption read, "Family first, always Raoul grateful, Raoul Paris brunch, Raoul blessed." My hands were shaking now, but I wasn't crying. I was calculating. I turned to look at the kitchen, willing myself to get up. My stomach had been grumbling for hours, but now it twisted in a new way. I shuffled toward the fridge, careful not to jar my knee. The refrigerator's soft light blinked on when I opened it, illuminating 3 things: a nearly empty bottle of mustard, 1 expired Greek yogurt, and a half-eaten cup of instant noodles. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. They were in Paris drinking 24-hour cocktails. I was home, limping across the kitchen for a soggy cup of noodles. I boiled water, the electric kettle clicking on with a hollow sound. As it heated, I leaned against the counter, staring at the marble pattern like it might steady me. The kettle clicked off. I poured water into the cup and set it down to steep. Then, with one hand, I refreshed Instagram. Another post had just gone up. This one featured Callista on a balcony, holding a glass of champagne. The caption read, "Sometimes you just have to say yes to joy." I whispered aloud, "I said yes to surgery. You said yes to my Amex." I took the cup back to the couch, careful not to spill. Sat down. Took 1 bite. It was cold already. And that's when something inside me started to shift. No dramatic snap. No explosion. Just a quiet inventory. A reshuffling of memories. A long list of times I'd paid for family dinners without comment. Times I'd covered rent just for a month. Times I'd nodded and smiled while being told I was the stable one, the lucky one, the one who didn't need help. I opened my notes app and created a folder called Proof. Inside it, I made a list. $12,784.60. Air France, $3,216. Hôtel du Palais, Paris, $850. Black Lane chauffeur service, $198. Baby gear rental, $624. Rooftop brunch, tagged Merci Café. I took screenshots, saved everything. Then I texted the family group. Did someone use my card for a trip to Paris? No reply. I waited 5 minutes. Then I sent one directly to Callista. "Did you book a vacation with my card?" She responded immediately. "It was linked automatically. Chill. You're overthinking. We all needed a break." A break? From what? Supporting me while I recovered from surgery? I stared at her message until the screen dimmed and the phone went dark again. And in that silence, I heard the click of something else. A boundary locking into place. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her message sat there, glowing like a neon sign of everything wrong. And yet, even with those words sitting on the screen, I kept staring at it like maybe something else would appear. Something honest. Something human. But that text was Callista in a nutshell. Detached, casual, unbothered. My thumb hovered over the group chat icon again, but I didn't tap it. Instead, I turned the screen face down and let the weight of the moment settle into my chest. The phone was still, but my thoughts weren't. Not by a long shot. It wasn't just that they'd left me. It was that I had truly believed they never would. The next morning, the house was quiet again. Not a soft, restful quiet, more like the kind that makes your ears strain for sound that isn't there. I sat on the couch, leg elevated, the brace itchy against my skin, and stared across the room at the empty kitchen. I reached for my phone and opened the camera roll, scrolling past old photos, birthdays, holidays, blurry selfies from better times. I paused at one image I hadn't looked at since the night before surgery, the care plan form. I zoomed in on the signatures. All 3 were there, all written with the kind of enthusiasm you'd expect from people posing for charity. I should have seen it then, should have known a signature doesn't mean a promise, it just means a pen met paper. I flipped to Instagram and refreshed my feed. There it was, another story from Callista. She was in Paris, laughing into a champagne glass, her voice floating above the sound of clinking cutlery. The camera panned to a rooftop terrace. My mom and brother were mid-toast. Her new boyfriend, yes, apparently she brought him, sat lounging in a branded designer sweatshirt like he belonged in a magazine spread. #NeMyPeople. I stared at it for a while. My people. I guess I wasn't part of that set anymore. Maybe I never was. I played the clip again, this time zooming in. That's when I saw it. On Callista's wrist, tucked just under her sleeve, was a wristband. White, printed in black letters. It read, "Lounge Access, Samantha R." My name. They didn't just abandon me. They were out there living on my identity like it was community property, not even trying to hide it. That's when it really hit. They didn't forget me. They replaced me. I closed the app and let my phone slide onto the couch beside me. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, letting it all crash down at once. Every favor I'd done, every loan forgiven, every silent act of convenience that kept their lives running. There was the time I paid for Callista's divorce lawyer because she was too emotionally exhausted to handle billing. The time I covered Mom's ER bill without blinking when insurance refused to pay. The time I let my brother sleep on my couch for 3 months while he got back on his feet, which really meant avoided rent. I never kept score. That was the whole point. Family doesn't. Or so I thought. But now I saw it for what it was. I wasn't family. I was a financial plan they hadn't budgeted for, but always expected. I opened the Notes app and started a draft titled What I've Paid For. It wasn't a rage list, it was a fact list. Underneath it, I typed, Callista, $4,500, legal. Mom, $3,200, ER. Eric, rent, food, utilities, EATWASH, $2,000 plus. Shared cabin insurance, 3 years running. Christmas for 7 people, every year since 2016. And then I closed the app. I didn't need to send it. Just having it there was enough. A record, a line drawn. The family group chat? I removed it from favorites. No more alerts. No more hoping. I reopened the video one last time. Froze the frame on Callista's grin. On my wristband. Then I started a spreadsheet on my laptop and named it Receipts. I'd just finished typing in the flight total when a new text pinged across my screen. Hey sis, Can you check if your card covers hotel incidentals too? Just in case. I didn't open the message right away. I just stared at the preview on the screen. Hey sis, can you check if your card covers hotel incidentals too? Just in case. That emoji. Out of everything they'd said or done so far, it was that little smirking kiss at the end that set something off inside me. It wasn't playful, it wasn't funny. It was a billboard-sized shrug painted over everything I had believed about my place in this family. I opened the message and reread it. 3 times. My eyes tracing each word like they might morph into something softer. They didn't. She's not even pretending anymore, I said out loud. My thumbs moved before I could think better of it. Did you seriously book a trip using my card without asking? She replied immediately. It was already linked. It's not like you were going to use it. No apology. No hesitation. Another message followed. Don't make this a thing. We all needed a break. I read that line aloud, each word slower than the last. A break? From what? Me? My voice wasn't loud. It wasn't cracking. But it shook. Not from sadness, no. From a kind of disbelief that felt like my throat had gone hollow. I didn't text back. I didn't even bother to draft a reply I knew I'd never send. Instead, I stood, slowly, bracing myself on the arm of the couch. I limped to the kitchen, grabbed the printed care plan off the fridge where I'd taped it the day before, and brought it to the table. I sat, pulled out a red marker from the drawer, and circled Callista's signature like it was evidence in a trial. Then I stared at it for a long time. I thought about the nurse who'd called that morning and left a message I hadn't bothered to check. I pressed play now. Hi, Samantha. This is Amanda from Post-Surgical Recovery. Just doing our 48-hour follow-up. How's your support rotation going? Were you able to fill your prescriptions and get assistance with meals? I let it play out before calling back. She answered on the second ring. Hi, this is Samantha R. You left me a message about my recovery check-in. Yes, of course. Just checking on how your family's rotation has been going. Do you need anything flagged or followed up? No one's been here, I said, flat. There was a pause. Oh, I'm sorry. Did something change with the care plan? No. It was signed. It's taped to my fridge. But I had crackers for dinner last night. Another pause. She cleared her throat. I'll note that. You shouldn't be going through this alone. I know. We hung up, and I sat in that still kitchen for a minute before getting up and grabbing my phone. I opened the camera app and started filming short, quiet clips. The untouched prescription bottles on the counter, the nearly empty fridge, the untouched guest key on the hook by the door. If I ever forgot what they were, what they weren't, I'd have it. I texted the group chat. Don't worry about stopping by. I'm starting a new rotation. Just me. Still unread. Next, I opened every account tied to my credit card. Utilities, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon family profiles. One by one, I removed my information, canceled payments, deleted shared access. As I did, I whispered under my breath, this isn't punishment, it's protection. By the time I finished, the apartment was darker than I realized. Outside, the street lamps had kicked on. I stretched, stood up slowly, and reached for my tea mug. That's when the phone buzzed again. A new message. This time from my brother. Mom says you're being manipulative. Let it go. I didn't touch the phone again. I just stood there and stared at it, glowing on the counter. Let it go? I hadn't even started yet. The light from my brother's message faded on the counter. I didn't rush to respond. I didn't scream or cry or even touch the phone. I just let the words sit there like a rotten fruit in the middle of the room. Let it go. Easy to say when you're not the one being stripped of dignity by the people you trusted most. I whispered to myself, let what go? My name? My money? My body? That was the last thread I had in me, for benefit of the doubt. I picked up the phone anyway. Habit, maybe. I tapped back into the family group chat. The last message there was mine. The one telling them I'd be starting a new rotation. Just me. It was still unread. I started to type a follow-up, something blunt and clean, something they wouldn't be able to twist. We need to talk about what's happening. I hit send. The message went through. But instead of replies, I got something else. A blank space where my name had been. You've been removed from the group. That was it. 1 second, I was in. The next, deleted. No explanation, no warning, not even the courtesy of a dramatic exit. They removed me from the thread I created, the one I set up during COVID to coordinate care for Dad. The same one I used to send birthday reminders, emergency contacts, storm updates. I built that thread. They just kicked me out of it. I sat back on the couch, stunned not by the act, but by how quick it was. How easy. I whispered. I wasn't just the one who paid for their peace. I built the room they just locked me out of. Before I could sit with that for long, my email pinged. A new message from Hotel Raphael, Paris. Dear Ms. Samantha, thank you for choosing Hotel Raphael. Attached, your full reservation confirmation and itinerary. I opened the PDF. 2 rooms, 3 nights, presidential suite, booked under my name, a $3,200 hold placed on my card. I blinked slowly, letting the reality settle. They hadn't just used my money, they used my identity. My name had bought them a suite with a view of the Eiffel Tower. I called the hotel, more out of instinct than strategy. A polite woman answered in crisp English. Yes, we have your booking under Samantha R. Checked in yesterday. I didn't check in, I said. A pause. I'm sorry? I'm not in Paris. I'm in California, recovering from surgery. Another pause. Longer this time. You're saying someone is impersonating you? No, I said calmly. I'm saying someone forgot I'm real. We ended the call with her promising to escalate it to management. I opened the bank app, flagged the charges. All of them. Then I froze the card. I took screenshots of every transaction, the email confirmation, the chat removal. I forwarded them all to my personal email. The subject line read, "For record and legal reference." It was the first time I'd written the word legal in connection to my family. And it felt right. I leaned back against the cushions and stared at the ceiling for a few minutes before pulling my laptop closer. My fingers moved steadily, not shaking anymore. This wasn't an emotional reaction. This was documentation. They wanted a vacation. I was giving them a consequence. Hours passed. The day stretched on. I moved slowly, gathering my old papers, pulling receipts from folders, scanning emails. Each task helped me breathe a little easier, a little more grounded, like I was moving out of a house that had never been mine. That night, as I lay on the couch again, knee aching but slightly less than yesterday, a soft chime came from my phone. A notification. Your identity may have been used at check-in. Would you like to verify? I sat up, eyes narrowing. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I would. I tapped yes without hesitation. If this family taught me anything lately, it's that they only listen when paper trails lead the way. Silence gets you ignored. Emotion gets you dismissed. But paperwork? Paperwork speaks their language. The hotel's follow-up came through within minutes. Subject line. Welcome, Ms. Samantha. Hotel Raphael, Paris. Attached were PDFs, a confirmation letter, invoice, photos of the room, and a scanned welcome card. Welcome, Ms. Samantha, it read in calligraphy. Enjoy your presidential suite. Below it, my signature, digitally rendered, neat cursive, copied from an old rental agreement I'd signed 3 years ago. They hadn't just used my card. They forged my name. They built a vacation on the bones of my identity. I sat in silence, letting the rage collect without boiling over. Then I started printing. Every email, every charge, the care plan with their signatures, the group chat screenshots, the text from Callista asking for hotel coverage, the hotel confirmation with my forged signature. By the time the last page came out of the printer, I had a full folder, tabbed and color-coded. I called the legal aid line I'd bookmarked weeks ago during a brief panic about estate planning. They picked up on the second ring. "I need to report fraudulent identity use," I said, "and I have documentation." The woman on the other end listened carefully, professional but not cold. She walked me through the first steps: how to file, what to expect. She didn't sound surprised when I told her it was family. "Unfortunately," she said gently, "you wouldn't be the first." I hung up and started unlinking myself, one login at a time. I pulled out the shared vacation cabin deed and printed the removal form. I submitted the digital request to remove my name from the family's joint banking app. I filed alerts with the 3 major credit bureaus to flag any new activity under my name. Each click, each form submitted, felt like unhooking a chain from my ankle. They signed my name without asking. Now I was removing mine without explaining. By late afternoon, the calls started coming. 4 from Callista, 3 from Mom, 1 from Eric. All unanswered. They called from blocked numbers, sent short, panicked texts. "Hey, can we talk?" "Just want to explain." "We didn't mean..." No one said sorry, just wanted to explain. Just wanted to manage the mess now that it had a paper trail and a name, mine. I muted the phone. No ringer, no notifications. Nothing but me and the sound of my own breath. "If they want to talk," I said, not to anyone in particular, "they can talk to my attorney." I stood up slowly, my knee stiff but functional now. I walked to the hallway closet and pulled out the box labeled personal. Inside were family photos, extra keys, the emergency contact forms I'd kept updated for years. One by one, I pulled them out and laid them on the kitchen table. I didn't cry. I didn't hesitate. I slid everything into a manila envelope and sealed it. On the front, I wrote in permanent marker, "Return to sender." I left it on the counter. I didn't know if I'd mail it. Maybe just having it there was enough. That evening, I posted once. No hashtags, no filters, no dramatic font. Sometimes the only way to heal is to get up and walk out, even if they never look back. Then I turned off my phone, set it face down, and let the quiet stretch across the apartment like a clean sheet over a messy bed. Later that night, I turned the phone back on to check my email. A new message popped to the top of the inbox. Subject: Urgent, shared account closure notification, initiated by Samantha. I didn't smile. I just exhaled, like a person who's finally stopped holding in the breath they didn't realize was clenched inside them. I set the mug down harder than I meant to. The handle clinked against the ceramic tile, a quiet sound in a room that had gotten too good at swallowing noise. That subject line, urgent, shared account closure, notification, initiated by Samantha, stared back at me like a finish line I hadn't realized I'd crossed. I exhaled, the kind you let out after holding a breath for a decade. Then I whispered, "Let's see what they do without me." It didn't take long. By noon, a new event appeared on my Google Calendar, synced from an old family group account I hadn't disabled yet. Title: Family Check-In. The emoji was insulting. The tone was worse. Part of me wanted to decline without opening it, but another part, curiosity or perhaps strategy, clicked join. When the Zoom window opened, it was Callista, Mom, and Eric. My brother didn't look like he knew why he was there. Callista went first, all teeth and soft lighting. "We didn't expect you to take it so personally." Mom leaned forward in her chair, her voice sharp but disguised as concerned. "You're making a scene, after everything we've done for you." I tilted my head and kept my voice level. "Everything you've done?" I was unconscious when you boarded a plane on my card. That stopped them. Callista looked off-screen. Mom fumbled with her glasses. Eric avoided the camera. I didn't flinch. Then came the kicker. "I have a recording," I said, pulling up the saved Instagram story that had been quietly forwarded to me. The video played. The voice unmistakable. Callista, laughing off camera, telling her boyfriend, "She's too soft to fight back. Just max her card and smile." No edits. No context needed. Mom froze. Callista's screen went dark. I said nothing. I just stared at the square where her face used to be and let the silence stretch. "You're not the only one who knows how to screen record," I said calmly. Eric stayed on, blinking fast, like he'd just seen a ghost. He opened his mouth. "You don't get it. It wasn't really like—" I cut him off. "No, it was exactly like that." Then I clicked leave meeting. That call wasn't about repair. It was damage control. They didn't want to fix what was broken. They wanted to silence the one who held the receipts. After the call, I opened a private folder I'd created in the cloud and uploaded the screen recording. Labeled it Exhibit B. Then emailed my attorney with the link. I wasn't playing their game. I was building my case. I spent the next hour updating every emergency contact form I could find. Doctor's offices, my pharmacy, my job's HR system, removed every family name, replaced them with mine, or left them blank. Then, I pulled out my old will, something I hadn't touched since I was 30, flipped through it with a pen, and drew a line through every name except mine. I wasn't erasing them out of vengeance. I was removing them from places they never belonged. That evening, the phone stayed mercifully quiet. I opened a window, let the air in, and watched the blinds dance a little. It was the first time in days the apartment didn't feel suffocating. I was starting to understand something I should have seen long ago. They didn't want me strong. They wanted me convenient. And when I stopped being that, I became dangerous. Later that night, as I tucked the last paper into its folder, my phone buzzed. A DM from one of Callista's old friends. "Hey, I think you should see what Callista just posted." I tapped the link. The screen blinked once before the video loaded. Music faded in, soft piano, the kind people use when they want something to feel deep, even when it's dishonest. The title floated across in white letters. "Family doesn't always love you back." And there she was. Callista, lip-glossed, filtered, her voice trembling in just the right places. "I did everything I could. God knows I tried," she said, looking just off camera, as if even the lens made her too vulnerable to meet. The captions rolled beneath her image like confessions. "She pushed us away. She refuses help. I'm still praying for her." Behind her voice, carefully edited clips of our childhood flashed. Me at 5, dancing in the living room. Our dad on the porch with a Christmas mug. A birthday cake I'd baked. Every moment spliced to look like nostalgia. Every piece turned into a weapon. I sat perfectly still. She didn't just steal my money, she stole the story. The ping of another message broke the spell. It was from the same friend who sent me the post. I called her without thinking. "Hey," I said, my voice calm. Too calm. There was a pause. Then she said, "She told me you'd freak out. Said you wouldn't go public, that you'd just shut down like always." I said nothing. She continued, quieter now. "But I saved something. I don't know if it helps, but I recorded her talking to Adam last week." The voice memo came seconds later. I listened with my eyes closed. Callista's voice, clear and smug. "She's weak. Just guilt her into silence again. Trust me, it works." The clip ended. I opened my laptop. In silence, I uploaded the video of her fake confession and the audio of her real one. Labeled them both. Moved them into my legal documentation folder. Then, I opened a new email to my lawyer and attached the files. Subject: Cease and desist. Public defamation. No shaking hands. No second guessing. Just documentation. We sent it that night. Formal language. Direct tone. A list of timestamps, transcripts, and a request for all slanderous content to be removed from public view. Callista had 72 hours to comply before we escalated. I didn't post anything on my page. I didn't make a public statement. I didn't fight fire with fire. I let the paper speak. But the internet did what it always does. Looked closer. The likes were still climbing on her reel, but so were the comments. "Is this the sister you charged flights under? Didn't she pay your rent during your divorce? Why isn't Samantha speaking?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My lawyer emailed her manager next. A neat, concise request to preserve all posts and remove defamatory content. At midnight, I sat on the couch again, lights dimmed, the room cool and still. The same apartment, the same couch. But something had shifted in the air. I picked up my phone and typed one last message, sent it privately to Callista. I hope the likes were worth it. The silence is over. No caps, no anger, no curse, just clarity. Because the worst part wasn't that they lied. It was that they counted on me to keep their secrets even after they sold mine. The email from my lawyer came shortly after. Demand letter delivered. Client has 72 hours to comply. I closed my laptop. The pain meds beeped from the kitchen. I didn't move. I let the screen go dark again and folded my hands around my tea mug. The heat wasn't doing much for the ache in my fingers, but it gave me something to hold. Something still, something mine. The email had gone out. The proof had been delivered. Now came the wait. I thought I'd feel nervous, that the silence would feel suffocating again, but it didn't. It felt earned, like a clearing after a long storm. My inbox chimed. Subject: documents received. Response required within 72 hours or formal litigation will proceed. I didn't flinch. I just took a sip and stared out the window. And yet, all I felt was calm. Around noon, my phone lit up with a call from the realtor I'd been working with. Hey, Samantha, I'm sorry, but we just got word from underwriting. Your mortgage application's been rescinded. I didn't ask why. I already knew. The Paris charges, she continued softly. The flagged transactions dropped your credit score below the approval threshold. I tried to contest it, but it's okay, I said. Not your fault. She hesitated. It's a beautiful place. I really hoped it would be yours. So did I. I ended the call, leaned back in my chair, and closed my eyes. They didn't just rob me. They cost me a home. My home. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I just let the quiet wash over me. The space between their actions and my reactions had widened now, enough for me to see clearly. That afternoon, there was a knock on the door. It was Leora, my neighbor from across the hall. She held a bowl of something warm, a grocery bag tucked into the crook of her arm. I brought soup, she said simply. And real food. You've been eating like a college freshman. She came in, uninvited but welcome, and set everything on the kitchen counter. Then she pulled a folded note from her pocket. I wrote you something. I don't know why. I just felt like you needed a different kind of letter. I opened it after she left. It wasn't long. I should have checked on you sooner. I'm sorry. You deserved better. I didn't cry, but I read it 4 times. Sometimes it's not the apology you expect that cracks something open. It's the one you never asked for, the one that comes without strings, without spectacle, just a quiet recognition that you were seen. That evening, I moved slowly to the patio, a small metal tin tucked under my arm. Inside it, receipts, old bills, statements from the years I'd covered things without question. I sat, lit a match, and burned them one by one. No pictures, no posts. I didn't need to make a moment out of it. I just needed them gone. The sun dipped below the roofs, casting long shadows across the lawn. I stayed until the last ember fizzled out. Later, back inside, I opened the archive of our old group chat. I didn't know why I wanted to see it. Maybe I needed to remember, just once more, what it had looked like when I still believed we were a unit, that we shared something real. Birthday greetings, jokes, photos from holidays, Thanksgiving dinners, baby showers, that road trip to Lake Tahoe. One photo caught my eye, a group shot from Mom's 60th. I had taken it. Everyone else was smiling, arms linked. I wasn't in the frame. That was always the role, wasn't it? The one behind the scenes, the one holding it all together. That night, as I climbed into bed, my phone chimed once more. A new email. Subject: formal response to legal notice, mediation requested. I didn't rush to open it. Instead, I picked up Leora's note again and held it in my lap. Because sometimes validation doesn't come from the people you lost. Sometimes it comes from the ones who quietly stay. The cursor blinked on the screen as I hovered over the email. I already knew what it would say. I clicked anyway. Formal response to legal notice. Mediation requested. Not an apology. A negotiation. Of course. I scrolled through the document with a calm detachment that surprised me. Legal language, backhanded phrasing, the soft threat of public fallout disguised as concern. They weren't sorry. They were calculating, managing risk, containing exposure. I opened a fresh tab and checked my digital security dashboard. Something had nudged me earlier. A flicker of intuition that said, keep looking. And there it was. Access logs. Netflix. Accessed from Paris. Spotify. Logged in from a French IP. Hulu. 2 devices, both under my name, both miles away. They didn't just use my card. They used my accounts, my identity, my history. I whispered. They took my money, my name, my password, and still posted like saints. The ding of another message pulled me back. This time from Callista. Look, I didn't think it would blow up like this. I'm in a tough spot. Can you help cover the hotel charges? Just this once? No apology, no accountability, just another ask. I didn't even text her back. I took a screenshot and forwarded it directly to my attorney. Subject: pattern of entitlement. No commentary needed. My lawyer responded quickly, outlining the counter-response for mediation. 3 demands, no exceptions. All defamatory content removed within 48 hours. Full reimbursement of unauthorized expenses. A signed public statement acknowledging misuse of my identity and financial resources. 2 hours later, the mediator replied, the family is willing to reimburse. However, they're not comfortable issuing a public statement. It could damage reputations unnecessarily. I sat with that sentence for a long time. Not comfortable, damage reputations, unnecessarily. They were counting on my silence, not my receipts. I typed my response slowly. If they're concerned about appearances, they should have considered the consequences before they filmed their fraud in first-class lighting. Send. That evening, as the sun dropped low across the windowsill, I checked LinkedIn, not for validation, but for a quiet form of closure. I updated my profile headline. Crisis reveals character, integrity rebuilds it. I didn't tag anyone, didn't broadcast a single detail, but the shift was real, and apparently not unnoticed. Late in the day, I got a forwarded email from a contact in marketing. Subject: Callista collaboration terminated. A major brand had quietly dropped her from their influencer campaign. No announcement, no public fallout, just a slow vanishing, like a door closing that she never heard lock. I didn't celebrate, I didn't feel vindicated, but I did feel steady. As night fell, I shut the laptop and walked to the kitchen for a glass of water. My phone buzzed again. Venmo notification. $3,200 from Callista. Caption: just making things right. The emoji said everything. I opened the app, blocked the account, deleted the notification. They thought this was payment. I knew it was proof. It was money, but it wasn't an apology. I stared at the Venmo notification until the glow of it started to feel offensive. The caption, just making things right, wasn't just tone-deaf. It was deliberate. Another performative move meant to pacify, not repair. She knew it wouldn't undo anything. She just wanted to be able to say she tried. I took a screenshot, dragged it into the legal folder, then blocked her account without another thought. By late morning, the fog had rolled in thick. I watched it from the kitchen window while stirring my tea. Outside, the street looked hushed, like it knew not to disturb what was finally settling. Then I saw it. A tagged photo. It popped up while I was checking emails. My mom, my brother, and Callista at a trendy cafe, 2 blocks from my building. They were back. They were near, and they hadn't said a word. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at their smiling faces under a caption that read, "Back home." Nothing like family time. They were 2 blocks away. And still, not a knock. No text. No attempt. And for the first time, I didn't want one. This time, I murmured to myself, I didn't expect them to knock. I closed the app, walked back to the bedroom, and opened the drawer that held the envelope. The one with the photos. The spare keys. The emergency contact cards. I pulled out the padded envelope and sat it on the desk. Then I added a note on top. This no longer fits. I didn't write their names. Didn't explain. Just sealed it. I didn't need to send it. Just knowing it was no longer mine to hold was enough. Around 4 p.m., Leora knocked gently and let herself in without waiting. She brought Thai food, my favorite. We sat on the couch eating quietly, letting the sounds of the city seep in through the cracked window. At one point, between bites of pad see ew, she looked at me and said, "You look lighter." I paused, swallowed, and gave her a small nod. "I'm not okay," I said, "but I'm not pretending I am anymore." She didn't say anything, just smiled. That was enough. After she left, I pulled out an old journal, one I hadn't touched in years. Its leather cover was worn and soft, the edges curled from time. I opened to a clean page. At the top, I wrote, "What they thought they owned was never mine to lose." I didn't write their names, not once. They no longer lived on my pages. As the sun dipped behind the rooftops and the room turned gold with the last light, I stood slowly, braced myself against the desk, and picked up the envelope. It felt heavier than it should have. I walked it to the trash bin near the patio door, held it a moment longer than necessary, then dropped it in. The next morning, the sun had already crept high above the roofline by the time I opened the patio door. The envelope was still in the trash bin, resting on top, exactly where I'd left it. No wind had come, no raccoons or rain, just stillness. I carried the bin to the curb. I didn't hesitate, didn't glance around. No ceremony. Some people need fire. I needed a clean floor. Back inside, I rinsed a glass, filled it with cold water, and leaned against the counter. A small notification blinked on my phone, an alert from my bank's fraud protection service. Unusual access attempt on old joint account, flagged and blocked. I smiled without meaning to. Too late. I didn't exist in that system anymore. I spent the next hour cleaning out the last remnants of old ties, logins, security questions, saved shipping addresses. I updated every profile, every account, 2-factor authentication across the board, even changed my emergency contact at the pharmacy. Later that afternoon, I picked up my prescription. The clerk looked at the screen, then back at me. "Looks like your caregiver is listed as Leora now." I nodded. "That's correct." And it was. When I got home, a small package waited at my door. Leora again. Inside, a leather-bound journal and a short note. "For whatever you decide to rebuild, you don't owe anyone your story, but if you ever tell it, start here." I sat outside on the small patio, the breeze just strong enough to rustle the leaves. I cracked open the first page. I wasn't the problem. I was the pattern breaker. The pen didn't shake. The words didn't hesitate. That evening, I posted once. Quiet, like always. If you were wondering, I'm okay. Not because of what happened, but because of what I no longer accept. No replies, no comments, no one called, no one defended themselves. And for the first time in a very long while, that was enough. I made dinner, real dinner, not microwave noodles or crackers. I lit a candle, not because it was romantic or for show, but because it smelled like eucalyptus, and I liked the way the flicker looked against the wall. Before bed, I closed the laptop, placed the journal next to my pillow, and turned off the light. This isn't the end of my story, just the part they'll never write again.